Hello and welcome into Reality Check. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary. I am joined as always by my good friend Jeremy, aka Jets Chaos. What a week it's been, Jerry. It's only Wednesday, but does this not feel like the longest week in Jets history? Just about.
It's just like it's like that, that feeling when your favorite boxer, your favorite fighter in a round is getting beat up really bad, and you're looking at how much time is on the round because you just want them to survive the rounds so they have a
Yeah.
chance to come back. That's us. We're just taking shots. Boom, boom. I'm like, man, will this round just end? End the freaking round. End the suffering, the pain. The shots just keep coming in, man. It's one thing after another. And it's just disgusting right now. And what's amazing to me is there's still fans out there that think this is all a good thing. Like they're still being optimistic about this. And I just don't understand how this is a mess.
No, it's only getting worse. And the few people that were holding on to the positivity, it's dwindling more and more by the day. But we do have the official news. The Jets have hired their new defensive coordinator, Brian Duker, who was the pass game coordinator, the defensive pass game coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, who didn't have a great defense this past year, Jeremy. But I guess don't worry because Aaron Glenn is calling plays. So I guess my question is what's the role then for Brian Duker? What are we doing here?
There's just so many questions, and it's not the thing of Aaron Glenn calling the defense. That's such like that's makes me have all those questions. Like that could be considered a horrible thing for some people. That's not even the thing that bothers me. And I was telling you this before. What bothers me is, first of all, he's just bringing another buddy from Detroit, right? They work together in Detroit. He's bringing in a guy that I don't know. I don't know how you determine who's the next up and coming good coach. If you're dealing, if you're basing it on statistics and how their units did, he was 30th, and 23rd the last 2 years they were in Detroit. He was 30th in 22, I think, and 23rd and 23 in pass defense. And he was the pass coordinator type guy or whatever. Obviously, he didn't shine in either Miami in his role, like statistically. It's not like Miami was lights out pass defense. They were kind of like average. So I don't know what you determine who's going to be the next guy. He's not calling plays anyway, which makes you wonder what his role is going to be. But what I want to focus on is you've been focusing a lot on the lack of a plan and the pretending of the plan. How are you sitting there saying the plan is for me to call defense, but we had been talking to Wink Martindale? Like, how does that make sense?
It doesn't.
Are you going to talk to a veteran coach who runs a 3-4, very different defense than you, and supposedly the plan was for you to call the defense? Or in that case, then maybe I won't call the defense. It's just too confusing, and it's really complicated, and it really doesn't make any sense to me.
No. So quick timeline in case anyone is muddy on this because it's hard to follow because it's not a clear path and clear timeline. But the Jets had 8 candidates originally, and Brian Duker was not on this original list. So they narrow the search down to pretty much Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale comes in for the interview, the in-person interview over this past weekend in the snow in Florham Park, New Jersey, under the assumption that he's going to be offered the job. And then when he gets there, according to reports, for the first time, it's brought up to him that Aaron Glenn wants to call plays. So where was the disconnect that this wasn't communicated in the first place? So that obviously falls through, number one. Then they followed up with a Zoom interview yesterday with Brian Duker. So they start from square one. They throw the other 7 candidates out the window. And I know some guys were hired, but they abandoned that original list. Zoom interview Brian Duker. And 24 hours later, he's named the defensive coordinator. What happened, Jeremy?
I can only imagine that Aaron Glenn decided, since I'm going to be calling the plays, Duker's ready. Where initially maybe it wasn't a candidate you consider ready, but say, in this minimized role of defensive coordinator, he's ready because it's not like he'll be calling games. I don't know. I really don't. Or nobody was that interested. We didn't like anybody. Nobody really wants to come. I don't know. I mean, the wasted time with Wink Martindale is the joke to me. Yeah, this veteran coach who's been, who was the better defensive coordinator when both he and Aaron Glenn were defensive coordinators, because that Wink Martindale for the Giants that year in 22 or whatever led the NFL in turnovers, and they made the playoffs that year. That guy is going to come work here and allow you to call the plays for him. And like, was there any chance he was going to take that role? It's just so stupid. Of course he wasn't. It just makes no sense at all.
It doesn't. Dano, thank you for the super chat. Chimes in. We're built for this, Duke, with the poop emoji. That's what it feels like right now for Jet fans. Just so confused by all this, right? Like, not that I don't think either of us were really big fans of going down the Wink Martindale road, but it's just so bizarre how quickly it feels like they abandoned their original plan on the offseason. And that's not even including Jeremy too, which we could talk about this as well, because just tying into the overall dysfunction of the offseason, they decide that they want to reassign Tanner Engstrand. Tanner Engstrand goes, I don't want to just not be the play caller and have offensive coordinator in my title and answer to Frank Reich. So then 4 weeks after, a month after they play their final game, they decide to fire or move on from the offensive coordinator, which very well could have been and likely was Tanner Engstrand, go and get me out of here if I'm not going to be the offensive coordinator and calling plays.
Yeah.
What the hell's what's happening on that side of the ball now?
I mean, why would Tanner Engstrand stay if, like, you're not calling plays anymore? You're being reduced to just an offensive assistant coach. Well, then I'll go back to I'll go to Chicago to a real offensive mentor then to get better. Or I'll go back to Detroit, which is, I'm sure, keep an eye on him, because I guarantee you he'll probably end up in one of those two places, right? He's going to, it's like, why would he stay in this freaking place if it wasn't the opportunity he was promised to grow and be a coordinator? Why, if you took a step back, okay, I'll go to a real team and I'll be an assistant coach and not an offensive coordinator, but at least I'll be in a real place with a real team and a place not to be embarrassed and have my resume look even worse. So.
Yeah, it's true. And I don't know who they're going to be able to get now at this point. I guess maybe they're still targeting Frank Reich, but is Frank Reich in 2026 coming in here and saving your offense with no true plan at quarterback? Like, it just feels like we're stuck.
I mean, I have a feeling that they're going to bring in they're going to like bring in 2 in free agency, and they're going to draft a couple on day 3 or whatever, or at least 1. It's going to be a whole room. It's going to be like Cleveland, like last year. It's just going to be a random who's who of quarterbacks coming through as they try to desperately find one. But I mean, I think that, and we'll get to his super chat. I saw he did it as a regular chat, and then he did it as a super chat. I'm kind of sensing, and we were talking about the same exact thing, Doug. We were having the same conversation before we went live. What's really, I mean, the only positivity we could take and the only reality in this is we're probably going to be ridiculously bad. This is a shit show, and we're going to be very, very bad. And what the difference between this year and next year is, I think, I can't say it for sure because it was supposed to be this year, but we believe next year is going to be a very strong quarterback class. We're going to be terrible, and we're going to be in a position next year, and exactly 12 months from now, we're going to be sitting in these seats, except the difference will be we're going to have a top pick in a draft with really good quarterbacks, which will be very attractive to potential head coaches.
Yeah, and as Doug C. is saying here, he mentions Kevin O'Connell, and I mean, I would absolutely love Kevin O'Connell to be this team's head coach. I think he's a really good offensive play caller. I think, unfortunately, J.J. McCarthy just has been a disaster in Minnesota, and that's played a big factor. So if for whatever reason they decide to move on, that would be a target very high up on most Jet fans' list. And like, if we're talking a year from now, the Jets have the #1 pick and they could draft Arch Manning and Kevin O'Connell was just hired, I think the vibe would obviously be significantly better than where it is right now. But it just stinks that, we're barely into 2026. We're not even through the first month of 2026. And all anyone wants to do is punt off this year and look forward to 2027 in the midst of a 15-year playoff drought.
Right. And notice that I said, we thought it would be this year we'd have a good quarterback class and didn't. There's no guarantees we will next year. Right. Like all the guys that go into next year, the 6 quarterbacks we're all watching might all like this year, just take a nosedive, right? Arch might not come out. Like, who knows what's going to happen? And then we have no choice though. Like, like that could be true. Like there might be no quarterback next year. We can't control that. But like in reality, the only way out of this I see, and some of it is not in our control, it's based on luck. The only way out of this I see is that we end up, whether it's because we stink so bad or the Colts stink so bad, that we have a top pick and Aaron Glenn is fired. If we have a terrible, we have the terrible year we expect that we're going to have, Aaron Glenn is fired, right? And then since 10 coaches changed hands this season, if you really look, I went through all the teams in the NFL, there's a very good chance there'll be maybe only one other team looking for a new head coach. Like, we don't know for sure, but it doesn't, it feels like it's not going to be a very good head coaching market next year because of all the turnover that's taken place. So I'm just saying our best case scenario, not a guarantee, is that there are going to be great quarterbacks available. We're going to be in line to get one, and there's not going to be a lot of competition for whatever good coaching names are out there, and that we'll be able to attract that coach because, hey, I know we're the Jets, but we got the number 2 pick in the draft, and there's 3 great quarterbacks, so you're going to get one of them. And that would be what reason somebody would say, okay, I'm willing to go there and work there.
Yeah, that would obviously make a big difference. I want to go to this one, and we have a lot of comments. We appreciate all you guys, and we'll get to as many as we can. First State Jets here is saying Woody gives failed people too much rope. I wanted to bring up Woody in this conversation because I want to ask you, how much do you think this is Woody? Like, do you think Aaron Glenn was like, I want to add Frank Reich to this staff, and I'm just giving a scenario, and Wink Martindale, and Woody's like, that's $10 million in new coordinators. Like, you could have one of the two, but I'm not giving you two. And he goes, all right, so I'll hire a cheap defensive coordinator. I'll call plays and then, hedge my bet with Frank Reich being the offensive coordinator. Like, or how much meddling is involved with Woody Johnson right now, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, I just want to address something real fast in the chat. If it's true that there's 6 to 8 coaching vacancies next year, if that's true, and you don't believe it's only going to be 2, even though I looked at every team and can't find what it would be, then you're looking at guys like Shanahan getting fired for the Niners or weird things like that, and that's good for us. But like the Cincinnati coach, if they fire their coach, that's good for us because we could grab them. Like, those would be coaches we'd want for a young quarterback to develop a young quarterback. So the reality is the coaching market should be very good next year. But just wanted to go off to that. But like with Woody being cheap to hire coaches, I don't know if there's truth to that or not. That would really suck if that was the problem, because since he raises ticket prices every year and makes tons and tons of money.
Yeah, I just don't know what to, because it seemed, again, I'm trying to put pieces together. It seems bizarre that Aaron Glenn goes and was able to pitch to Woody Johnson that, like, hey, I'm going to figure this out. I just have to fire my entire staff and hire a completely new staff. Like, does that, like, when does that ever happen?
Yeah, I think there's a chance Woody is not even involved in this.
Okay.
Like, I think there's a chance. Like, I mean, he may have said to Aaron Glenn, you like pressured him to say, there needs to be some kind of change. Like, what is the plan? And there's pressure on him to say something to him, to say, oh yeah, well, we're gonna bring in some new coaches. I don't know how you have that conversation without saying the words, like without like ignoring the elephant in the room. Like, when you had the conversation of we need to go out and find new coordinators, new coaches, how do you avoid the elephant in the room, which is I hired all those guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? All those guys I hired, I now want to fire after a year. There's like, I don't understand what the conversation looks like with Woody. Like, what is Woody saying in response to that? Like, it's really, really bad. Like, when you think about it, it's a terrible situation. And, I think Jake Asman was talking about how it was, the one coach that's ever fired both his defensive and offensive coordinator or lost both coordinators after their first season was Hugh Jackson or whatever for the Browns. He was 1-15, and then he went like 0-16 the next year or something. So, like, it's like, I mean, it's not good. It's not good. The situation is really not good.
Jay Taylor chimes in, says Jets should put out the thank you fans post now. LOL. Good to hang out with you fellas on this cold and depressing Thursday afternoon, but good news, we have less than zero expectations for next season. So a couple things. One, hilarious that saying the thank you fans post should go out. Number two, today's Wednesday, but I have spent all day thinking it's Thursday. So I'm with Jay Taylor that this is the most Thursday feeling Wednesday. Maybe
it's really crazy. And you know, I'm not, by the way, I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not saying, hey, we're going to have this terrible season. We'll have a great quarterback draft next year and we'll be able to get a great coach. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's our only hope. You know, what's the other hope other than that? What could turn this around in a year? What other path to turning this around could there be other than we're terrible? We have this great draft pick. There's some good quarterbacks available, and a head coach that's available is willing to come here because of that. Like, I'm not saying that'll happen. I'm not saying that's enough to make a head coach want to come here that's established. I'm just saying, what other hope is there than that, other than the other alternative to that, but I'm afraid to say it because I'll get laughed out of the room, is that we actually are good, that we come in and have a good
season. That'd be great.
I mean, yeah.
But how are you going to say that? Like you said, how are you saying that with a straight face? You can't believe that, right?
It's very hard. It's very hard. How could we be good? Like what, I mean, is two, you know, the first round draft picks that we have, right? Yes, we have two great picks, 2 and 16. Is that going to turn around this roster? Like, is that, I mean, like, even with the good picks, I mean, we might get some good young players, something to give us some hope, right? We might get some players that actually look like they have promise. Turn the team around, though? You're going to rely on 4 rookies to come in and turn the team around, like for those top 40, you know, those 4 top picks?
No, I don't think that's not a fair ask for those kids.
Yeah, and it's like, and out of those 4 kids, if one of them is a quarterback, you're talking about a second round quarterback, right? Maybe there's talk that we could possibly go and grab a guy like Simpson at 16 or trade back in the back of the first and take Trinidad. And like, there's all these like theories out there, but still that's not going to turn this team around. Like, now we're going to believe that they're going to come in, even if you like them. Most Jet fans don't like those guys. Some have interest in them, but no one thinks that either of those guys is going to come in, play quarterback, and make us a better team.
No, certainly not. Cam Bam chimes in with a super chat. A little off topic, but we can hit on this quick. If we had a wide receiver in free agency, who are your top 5? I don't even know if I really have 5 names in free agency.
There's not many.
No, I think Alec Pierce is the best fit, though, for the Jets in free agency. He's 25 years old, big wide receiver, deep threat from Indianapolis. That would be my number 1 target. You have names like George Pickens is going to get a ton of money. I don't think the Jets are paying him a ton of money. Juwan Jennings, maybe from San Francisco, but like you said, there's not a ton of there's big names, but most of them are old too. Like, is Deebo Samuel coming here? Do you want Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen? Those are the big name guys.
They would try to get them. If they try to get them, that's not for the better of the long-term plan. That's not better for us as fans to go get an older guy. So then by the time we get good, we're just stuck paying them some void contract money. I mean, because no number 2 receiver next to Wilson or even a WR1A is going to make things any better as far as our ability to compete. You know, at that point, when you start talking about some of those guys, I'd rather just stick with freaking AD Mitchell and see what he is. And I hate to say that. I'm not saying that's an answer. But for next year, you're going to bring in, like you said, you're going to bring in Allen. Like, what's Allen going to do? You know, let's bring in a 34, 35-year-old receiver who used to be great. You know, it just doesn't seem like there's any purpose to that. And it's not a long-term solution. So, and I don't think like a Pickens is, first of all, do you want him in your locker room? And then second, you know, like you said, a giant contract. We're going to sign a giant contract now with the state of affairs this team is in. I don't know if that's a good idea on any player.
No, they're probably going to go in the NFL draft route, I would think. With they have 4 picks in the top 50. I would think probably a pretty safe bet one of them is going to be wide receiver. That'd be my thought.
Yeah, I think the biggest. I mean, both of them. It won't be a problem. I would be utterly shocked because I think both of them probably won't be at 16. I think they're both going to be gone. If one of these two players, Sonny Styles or Mekhi Lemon, were to be at 16, I sprint to the podium. Like I don't believe that both of them will be there. I don't care that one's a linebacker and one's a wide receiver. How could you, it doesn't matter. We have a need at both. I'm saying that you can't pass on either of those two players if they slip to that spot. I don't think they will. I think both of them will be gone. But if one of those two are there, if it's Mekhi Lemon, if Lemon is on the board at 16, that answers your wide receiver problem.
Yep.
Now you got Wilson signed for 5 more years, whatever it is, and you'll have Lemon come in and we got 5 years of control over him. You're good at wide receiver. At least you could check those boxes.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I think that's the route that I would go. I don't see them really spending a ton on free agency, but back to the fun of this this Jets what is going on situation. So we hit on it a little bit with obviously Aaron Glenn being the play caller on defense and Brian Duker coming in as the defensive coordinator. Seems like they're also targeting Frank Reich for the offensive coordinator. But the line that really scares me the most from that is how it's being pitched as a head coach of the offense. That's exactly what we went through with Adam Gase and Greg Williams, where Adam Gase was the head coach of the offense and entitled the head coach of the team. And Greg Williams was billed as the head coach of the defense. And that was an abject disaster for 2 years. This doesn't give me any confidence going into 2026. If that's the plan, Glenn's going to be the play caller on defense, and Frank Reich is coming in to be the offensive play caller and the offensive head coach.
If you were bringing Frank Reich as the quarterback coach next year after you drafted a quarterback, I think that would be a little bit more digestible.
Yeah.
But again, I think there's 2 realistic scenarios. The unlikely scenario, the team actually takes a step forward or steps forward and looks good and promising. The two other scenarios is both scenarios we suck. One, Woody doesn't fire Aaron Glenn and says, well, he didn't have a quarterback and this nightmare continues. Or the other, he fires all these coaches anyway and it makes no bit of difference.
Yeah. No, that's I said it already on the show too, but that's such a bad place to be as a fan base when we're 9 months from the start of the season and we're already writing it off and thinking about, next year, 2 years from now in 2027.
I don't know if I've ever this early, usually even in the Gase years, even in the bad years, they've done things to make you believe, we picked up the Le'Veon Bell, or, these little things that they do to make you think there's some hope. Maybe I was just more ignorant back then. I wasn't paying as attention. I was more cash back then. I was busy in my life with other things. I don't know what it is, but I never felt so down and lacked so much confidence or lacked any belief that we could be competitive in the next season in January than I feel right now. I just do not see a path for this team to be competitive. I mean, how could we? Right now, we just got a defensive coordinator that's not going to call plays. We're working on finding an offensive coordinator. We have a head coach that is historically puzzling. Let's just say that. The best you could say. The best word that you could say about him is puzzling. Right, yeah, we're coming off a 3-14 season, and we don't not only do we not know who our starting quarterback is, we don't know who our backup quarterback is. It's really bad right now. This is as rock bottom as I feel it's ever been.
Can I give us a slight positive spin here? It's mostly negative, but I'm going to try my best to give us a slight positive spin here, Jeremy. Okay. Daniel, who is a very big Dolphins fan who finds his way in our comments and live chats very often, says Duker didn't do a bad job with the Dolphins last year. The Dolphins had a revolving door at defensive back. He actually did a competent job last year. To that, I would say That may be true. However, what's his role going to be with this team if he's not calling plays? So he's defensive. So is he just coaching him up in practice and giving the play sheet to Aaron Glenn on Sundays and go, here, this is what we worked on this week. I think that I highlighted these three that I think are going to do well for us this week.
We don't even know that, because what if Glenn hires the head coach of the offense and Banjo got great control of the special teams? What is Aaron Glenn going to be doing? What room do you think he's going to be hanging out in? You can't just get a sheet of plays and then you're going to call it. You have to be in the room all week, right? You have to be really focused on the defense so you could see what's working, what's not working. I can't imagine just coming in and calling the plays if you didn't have full commitment attention during the practice throughout the week on the defense, if you're going to call the defense. So I don't know what his role is going to be. I don't think Duker, I don't think he should have any hate thrown his way. Even when I looked it up without even knowing about the injuries, it's a really good point that Daniel brings up, because I didn't even think about the injuries. I just looked back at their performance. And the performance of the secondary and the pass defense of the Dolphins was average, slightly better than average last year. Like, it actually improved from the year before. So it wasn't bad. Like, so there's nothing bad about the job he did. Knowing that he had a rotation of, and, injuries to his defensive backfield makes me feel better about him as a defensive backs coach, as a potential defensive coordinator. But like you said, we don't know his role. Like, is he going to be, are they going to not hire a pass coordinator, like a pass, like, is he going to be in charge of the defensive backs and the passing game defense? Right? Like, he may as well, because he's having, if he's not calling the plays and Glenn's going to have his hands in the pot, then you got to give the guy some responsibilities.
I think Dano nailed the role. He says he's going to be the 2024 version of Nathaniel Hackett, who, by the way, was still entitled the offensive coordinator. But as we know, Todd Downing took over calling plays, and we don't know what the week-to-week was for Nathaniel Hackett. And I don't know if we're going to know the week-to-week of our guy here now in Duker. I guess he'll do a press conference every Thursday, because that's what the defensive coordinator does. But great.
He might be good for AZ Thomas, right? Maybe he's really good at developing and like helping players step up their game and be the best versions, and that might be a good thing for AZ Thomas. I mean, I guess we could look under every stone and we could find some positive, right? But that's really hard it's really hard when the positive you're finding is that your defensive coordinator, who's not going to be allowed to call the plays, might help develop your second-year cornerback. Like, that's your positive. That's like a really scary situation to be in as a fan.
Jay Taylor with a super chat. Thank you for the support. It says, is Frank Reich calling a quarterback draw in a 4th and 8 situation on a game-tying drive late in the fourth quarter the same as Greg Williams' cover 0 call against the Raiders to betray Gase? Can't wait, baby. I will never forget watching that play. And I know Green Bean talks about it all the time, where he was cheering and he was happy with the Henry Ruggs touchdown against poor UDFA corner Lamar Jackson. I was cackling, laughing at that play. It was so done with that team. They were winless at that point. It was the full-on tank for Trevor Lawrence year. And I just couldn't believe that Greg Williams ran a cover 0, all max out blitz on essentially a Hail Mary play for the Raiders to go and win that game. Yeah, you know what I think is honestly pretty likely, Jeremy, that we might get to a point next year where Frank Reich is the interim head coach at some point after like a 1-7 start.
Oh, it very well wouldn't be at all in any way surprising. You know what's funny about that play, though? I'm so conflicted over that play, because in 99% of the time of my life, that play would have made me hate his guts. Oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever seen as a Jets fan. Fire him. I was so happy when that took place. Like, when the Raiders scored that touchdown, it was like I was the happiest I've ever been as a Jet fan in a really long time. I was cheering. I was so happy. I was like, oh, thank God, Trevor Lawrence, because at that time we all thought Trevor was going to be like the next Peyton Manning, or a lot of us thought,
Just goes to show the crazy times going into 2026. Like, Yeah, you said, I'm sure I know what you said before the stream, and I was trying to tee you up for it, but my brain isn't really functioning to do that. Before we started, you said that you feel about as bad as you did during the Adam Gase era. So I guess my question is, do you feel better or worse going into 2026 than year two of Adam Gase in 2020?
Oh, I feel worse. I feel worse because like what were the Jets with Gase the first year? We didn't know that season was coming. We were like 7-9 or something.
7-9, and they went 6-2 down the stretch in their last 8 games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember thinking. I mean, I didn't have a ton of confidence, but I remember thinking like I didn't know that was coming. I thought there was a chance 9-7. Could we get a wild card? You know, like based on the way we ended that year, and you know, it's nothing compared to this. Like, and I'm not trying. I don't want to be negative. I'm not coming in saying I want to be angry and say this team sucks and be negative. But I can't sit here and lie. I can't sit here and say. I mean, that's not why we're here, right? We don't do these shows. We don't like do these shows, or we shouldn't. At least I don't believe in to lie. Like I'm not here to try to like I don't work for the Jets. My job is not to try to convince people to be excited about the Jets. I'm here to just tell the truth. If you were asking me when you asked me how do I feel about the upcoming season, I feel terrible. Like I feel like we're not gonna it's hard to imagine winning more than 3 or 4 games. And even those games, I'm wondering how those wins are going to come. I mean, maybe that'll feel a little better when we actually have a quarterback. But right now, sitting in this suspended animation of we don't have a quarterback and it doesn't look like there's going to be any real good options out there, I don't know how I could sit here and get myself to even look at this team and feel confident that we can do anything.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it too, right? You have the disarray going on with the coaching staff, and who are they going to be able to hire and get in here and fill out the rest of their staff, right? You have that. Plus, what conservatively, we'll say there's maybe 20 different options the Jets could go at quarterback, and none of them good.
No,
like, no, like you could be like, oh, my favorite option is to go after Mac Jones. Well, it's like, well, you got to trade for him. Is he going to be the same without Kyle Shanahan? Or I would like to go Kyler Murray because he's the most proven. Well, he's hurt all the time. He's on a terrible contract and he's 5'4". Like there are no good options for the Jets at quarterback. Or you could take Ty Simpson at 16 and he's probably not ready to play yet and should sit, but the Jets are going to panic and put him in too early and that probably won't go well. I don't like there isn't a good answer. And I hated the Adam Gase hire. I wanted him fired when I think they started 1-9 that year. Or no, not 1-9, 1-8, something like that. But more, and then they won 6-2 down the stretch, like I said. But you felt a little bit better going into that year, I think, than what you did now. But there might be more talent on the roster going into 2026, which might sound crazy than what they had in 2020. It's just such a weird spot. And again, to reiterate, we shouldn't have to be in this position going into 2026.
I know. I think that's a good point. That I think even especially with the draft picks, there'll be more talent on this roster than there was in 2020. I think.
Yeah.
Like I do. I believe that. But I don't know. There are some people saying it's just proof that like that exact point. They're saying there are people making the argument that AG is much worse than Gase. They're saying, I know, people are saying as much as we hated Gase, as much as we said he's so terrible, that Glenn is worse than Gase. And many people are making that argument.
Fletch chimes in. How much of that feeling is this the worst offseason ever coming from living in a Jets YouTube bubble where negativity breeds more negativity? I think you have the completely wrong outlook on what Jet fans want to talk about or content creators. There are probably some who just want to be negative, and that's fine. But I think the majority, or I'll speak for the two of us here, I feel very confident in saying that myself and Jeremy, we are honest about how we feel. If something is good, we're going to tell you it's good and why. If something's bad, we'll tell you why it's bad and why. And not for nothing, but the team sucking isn't good for business. Like if you want to take, I'm a Jets fan first before I'm a Jets content creator. I want this team to be good, but there is so much more interest and so many more people tune in when this football team is actually good. When the Jets are 1-8 in November or December, no one cares about those games. I'm doing previews and for games, and nobody gives a shit. And now you look at it, and we get to January, and numbers are up again because we're talking about offseason and we're talking about future stuff, and that's what people are interested. But if the team is actually good, there would be so much more interested. There'd be more than 400 people hanging out with us here. So we want to be positive. The Jets just haven't given us a reason to be.
When we started the Aaron Rodgers year, that first game, that Monday night game, me and Green Bean would average 250 people watching with us, right? We were 1,200, 1,300 people most of the game, right? Because there was excitement that we were going to be good. And that held. We were like 800 to 1,000 for the first few weeks. And then, I mean, he got hurt, but we were still winning a little bit. Like things didn't fall apart yet. There was still this, can Zach Wilson manage enough? But it fell apart pretty fast. And then our numbers went back to never quite as low as 250, but it went down to like 400. So, I mean, it's better for us when they win. Like, it really is. It's like the numbers are better for us as YouTubers. But I think Fletch is asking a good question because I think he meant it at a different thing. I'm interpreting the question as a different thing, that we get sucked up. We get sucked up in this group thinking, right? Jake is upset, so then I'm a Green Bean, get Mackie upset, so I'm upset, and we pile onto each other with our upsetness, and it feels worse. I could just say this, because I can't say if I wasn't involved in YouTube at all and not watching on YouTube, I don't know how I would be perceiving all this. But I know that one of my best friends from growing up, from my high school years, he's not into this, into YouTube at all. He doesn't watch me. He thinks it's cool I do it. But he sends me private text messages to my phone number just as a fellow Jet fan. Like, we stay in touch. And he's cursing and screaming and as negative as anyone. And he's not stuck in this world. And he's what I was, right? Like, for years before I got involved in YouTube, he's just a Jet fan. And right now, his take on the Jets is very, very negative. He's screaming, "This sucks. This is the worst it's ever been." And so I would imagine that if I wasn't involved in YouTube at all, never watching anybody's videos or doing them myself, I imagine I'd be pretty pissed and upset right now.
Yeah. No, I think so. And I think it's valid that fans feel this way going into this season. V-Man, thank you for hanging out. It says, just wake me up in 2027 when we hire McDermott. We need a guy who knows how to rebuild an inept organization, and he has proven it with the Bills. Sure, he's sitting out, I believe, this head coaching cycle. I think he's absolutely someone who would be a candidate in 2027 if we got to that point.
Look, man, one of the problems we've had in our locker room is culture. And I think one of the things most people, I can't imagine people arguing this, but everything I say, people will argue. I feel, in my opinion, that Buffalo has had a very good culture, like in the last bunch of years, in their locker room, in their team, the players loving playing there, loving the team, the relationship with the fan base. You have to give them some credit for that. I know it helps when you have a Josh Allen, but you have to give them credit for that, though. You have to give them a head coach some credit when the team loves the team. They love each other. Like, they love the locker room. They're a team, like, in that sense. Like, they take accountability. That, like, we all saw them after the game, like, Josh Allen crying, "It's my fault." And then Dawkins broke down crying, saying it's not his fault. I mean, that's what you want out of your locker room as far as supporting each other, right? Yep. So there's a lot of arguments, in favor of McDermott. Like, I there's going to be the counter. Well, he had Josh Allen. I don't know if that means everything in the world, though. You still, it's not like, oh, you have Josh Allen, so any coach is successful and good. And yes, he couldn't make it to the Super Bowl. He couldn't get through the playoffs. But at the same time, they won a lot of games, and they've won our division like every year for the past, since New England was winning it. Up until this year, they had won how many? 5 in a row?
Yes. And he also got there too with Tyrod. Like, they ended there, I think it was a 19-year playoff drought. And they did it with Tyrod Taylor in his first year. So I don't think it's a bad name. And I'm sure we'll have, a list of 10 guys in a few months that we'd be interested in, but I don't think it's a bad name to bring up. Yeah. IHYIC says, trade for Sanders, make it interesting, LMAO. Well, He's a Pro Bowler. Did you see that? Shador Sanders was added to the Pro Bowl roster.
Dude, like what that just takes all the merit out of the Pro Bowl. Like, so now Pro Bowl means nothing. And I'm not trying to be anti, I'm not trying to be a hater, but come on, no one could say that Shador Sanders earned the Pro Bowl nod. Give me a break.
He had 7 touchdowns to 10 interceptions and a 68.1 passer rating.
Right.
Like, if it's fine. And again, Shador with his dad, there was a lot of hype around him, and he's a very polarizing figure. He's probably going to get a chance to win the starting job and compete for a starting job for the Browns in 2026. However, it's pretty ridiculous that he was named to the Pro Bowl as an alternate.
If he's named the Browns starting quarterback next season, are you betting on them to make the playoffs and be a good team?
Cleveland, no.
I mean, unless they get the new coach comes in and turns him around. But like, he looked like, and I'm not trying to be a hater because he was only a rookie who played like 5 games, but he had the very best thing I could say about him is he looked like a quarterback who needs a lot of development.
Yeah, he does. He does. There were definitely some issues from his collegiate tape that showed up. For instance, the sack numbers. The sack numbers were absurd. But
yeah,
his
mechanics are great. His mechanics are fine.
Yeah.
His mechanics are fine. Like, you could tell the guy worked hard. Like, on working on his mechanics, the guy practices hard. He throws a good ball. Like, he's like, it's just that. But NFL quarterback, man, it's all about processing. It's all about speed and processing.
Nick Shine, friend of the show, says, thanks for coming on the show today, Matt. You guys are awesome together. Hit the like button. Nick, appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to Nick Shine's channel, make sure to do that. Go back and check out my appearance on the Nick Shine show. I was saying that we plugged the draft party. I was saying we need to recreate the belly bump from the Olu Fashanu pick in 2020.
Well, now I got the belly and Nick doesn't. I'll knock him out of the room. We should, I got to tell you, though, I'm scared of Nick's head. Ever since he lost so much weight, now he looks like this giant head that's walking at you. Like a boggle. He's like a bogglehead, or what, a bobblehead? Like a bobblehead. This giant head. Maybe I'll do a crash diet and we could do a headbutt instead.
There we go. We got options. Jay Taylor chimes in. Never thought my Buffalo Sabres would make the playoffs before the Jets, and right now it looks like a real possibility. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a big hockey guy. I don't know how many people in here are big hockey fans, but the Buffalo Sabres also have not made the playoffs since the 2010-2011 season. They started off this year pretty rough. I'm sure Jay Taylor would agree with that, but they're on a heater right now. They're like, I think I saw it's like 18-5-3 or something along those lines in their last 20-something games, but they even are going to end their streak of the playoff drought. So the Jets will stand alone at 16 years coming up very, very soon, which is just, again, so disappointing.
I mean, we've watched in the years since we've made the playoffs, we've watched New England go from a dynasty winning Super Bowls to sucking and us laughing at them, going, aha, Nick yelling at them, you're the Jets now, at one of the fans. How does it feel to be the Jets? All the way to now they're going to be in the Super Bowl. That whole cycle of going through Bill Belichick, through Mayo, to another coach, so 2 coaches later, new quarterback, going through a couple of quarterbacks, Mac Jones that they drafted. First it was Cam Newton, right? They went through all this, and all this time they're back in the Super Bowl, and all this happened in between, like us making we haven't made the playoffs. Right. And that's just in the last 6 or 7 years that happened. Our playoff drought goes back an extra 8 years to that.
On top of it, we were talking about this on Talking Jets last night, and I brought it up there, but I'll bring it up here as well. So someone commented, and we were the same age, but I was in 10th grade. I was 15 years old the last time the Jets made the playoffs. Since then, Jeremy, here's some life events that have happened since the last time the Jets made the playoffs. I got my learner's permit. I got my driver's license. I graduated high school. I graduated college. I got engaged. I bought a home, and I got married, and got a puppy too, if you want to include that. But like, I went from a little teenager to a homeowner, and all in the span of this playoff drought. And I'm sure, like you, same thing. Where were you in 2010? How much has changed in your life since 2010?
So the last time they made the playoffs was right when I celebrated my 40th birthday party. Okay, so 40th birthday. So since then, I moved from Brooklyn into Manhattan, had an apartment, bought a house upstate in Sullivan County,
Okay.
lived in like a double life, like during the week working in New York City as a teacher, and and earned another master's degree in school leadership, to become eligible to be a principal, assistant principal. Then sold that house in Sullivan County, moved to Sacramento into an apartment, lived there for a while, bought a house in Midtown Sacramento, became a dean of students, and then became an assistant principal, switched careers, went back to school, got a master's to be a therapist, and now I'm working towards my therapy license. Yeah, like I was a teacher. I was a high school teacher living in New York City with a house upstate the last time the Jets made the playoffs. Yeah. So yeah,
It's great.
that's like a lifetime ago. My whole marriage, I've been married 16 years. Like, so for the last 15 years of our marriage, the Jets haven't made the playoffs. The last time they made the playoffs, me and my wife were celebrating our 1-year anniversary. And we've been married now 16 years. We're going towards 17 this year.
That's so funny.
I mean, I could say it a million different ways. It's been a really long time.
This is a great question from Mike. Why is every Jets creator just spewing depression? Holy. Well, I don't know. What do you want us to say?
What do you want us to spew? Should I be spewing happiness? Things are great, guys. We're doing great. This is great. This is great that we haven't been in the playoffs 15 years. It's great that we don't have a quarterback. It's great that we're like waiting to find out who that be. It's great that we just fired both our coordinators and that we just hired one that's not even going to be calling plays. This is all great. This is all positive. I mean, that's what I should be doing? Like, I don't know. Give me something. Tell me, instead of saying, why are you just spewing depression? Why don't you give us something positive that we could spew? Because if you give me something positive that I agree with, that's real, we will spew it. And we already did. I said, at least if we suck, maybe it'll be a great quarterback class. Maybe there won't be 10 teams looking for a head coach. Maybe the fact that we'll be in line to get a really good quarterback will bring in a good coach, and all this misery can end. So that I don't know how to be more positive than that, because that's the only thing I see. It's the only light at the end of the tunnel that I can imagine, because we don't have a good head coach right now, and we don't have a quarterback. And I know that the two most important things to be a great organization is have a great coach and have a great quarterback. So what's the light at the end of the tunnel? The only positivity I could say is maybe we'll suck, fire the coach, get a real coach, because we'll be in line to get a good quarterback. I can't make it any better than that. I don't know what a better scenario than that is.
No, I don't know. Boomtown's got a great one. Therapy license, perfect fan base to generate nonstop referrals.
I know, right? If I should move back to New York or New Jersey, it would be endless. I would advertise it. I swear to God, if I lived on the East Coast, I'd advertise it. Like for specialties, for our modality, like specialties, trauma. And then I would say trauma related to sports. And then I would say, to make it even more detailed, I have another line that says trauma related to Jets, trauma related to Mets, trauma related to Knicks.
Yeah, and it's just you in your Jets jersey. And like I picture a billboard of you in like a Jets jersey, be like,
Jets jersey with a
depressed. Oh God.
It's like so true.
You really can't make this stuff up.
I mean, it's really, I just, I really want to not feel like this. Like, I want everyone to know that. Like, I don't say it, like, I try to keep a happy face, a happy energy, right? Why else would you watch it? You don't want to watch us like this. But it's really, really tough right now, because the thought of, because even if all that was to happen, even if we ended up getting a great quarterback in the draft next year, and that gets us a great coach, we still have to live through the next 12 months. And like, it's really, really hard, man. To the thought of sucking next year, and I don't want to, but the thought of sucking next year, the thought of being 1-5, 1-6 after 6 weeks into next season is just
Horrible.
devastating to me. It's devastating.
No, I don't want to go through another losing season. I don't. I would best case scenario. I don't think this is the most likely scenario, but this is the best case scenario. Under the grace of God, Aaron Glenn gets this defense completely turned around. They hit on a quarterback solution. They are much more competitive than we think. They overachieve. They win games. The 2022 Jets, I don't know anyone who was predicting them to start 7-4 that year. Unfortunately, they lost their last 6 games and finished 7-10. But if that version of the Jets finished the job and went 9-8 and made the playoffs, probably would have built a statue for Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. That's the goal.
If we were to come out next year and whatever the quarterback solution is, like let's say it was Kyler Murray or Kirk Cousins or something like that, because that's the only way to make it believable, right? That it's some guy that finds the best version of himself, right? Like the best version of Kyle Murray from his rookie year or whatever it was, or Kirk Cousins from his Minnesota years. Like, let's say that's how it looked. Like we got that quarterback and good offensive line, right? And Garrett Wilson and whatever it is, Mason Taylor takes a big jump. And now the defense kind of turns it around because of the draft picks help. We get like Bain is the edge or Reese, and they light up the defense, and suddenly the defense is better. And somehow we sneak into the playoffs at 9-8. Right?
Mhm.
I will say this. I will celebrate it as if we won the Super Bowl. Like I will be so overjoyed during the season when we're actually winning games, even though people are going to say, oh, but now you're going to be stuck in mediocrity and you're not going to be able to get a quarterback. I don't care. Like that, I will worry about that. I will worry about that, but it's not going to take away the joy if that was to happen. Like there would be so much joy in watching us be a competent football team.
The bar is pretty low, I would say. The bar is low. Competent football is a low bar. Nose kills, something positive. But what about those 0 block field goals? That's going to be a shorter segment than your ad read. Hey, you know what? Special teams was really good. Chris Banjo was a very good hire. The Jets special teams unit was elite. Good football teams need good special teams unit. Look at the Rams. Their special team unit stunk all year. They fumbled the punt in the NFC Championship game. Seattle took advantage. They're going to the Super Bowl. Special teams matters. They just need to figure out what their plan is on the offense and defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. Look, I think that it's a weird thing that he bragged about that only because why didn't he he could have just simply said special teams. Like he didn't have to say 0 block field goals. He just had to say special teams. Like what was better about this year? How did the team grow? Special teams. Our special teams was great. I don't know why he got so specific into the 0 block field goals because he could have just simply said special teams is a part of a football team. It's an important part. We've seen it make the difference. It's been the difference in Super Bowls. It really has. So just say, like, how's the team improved and grown under you being head coach? Special teams. He could have just said that and left it at that, and it would have been fine. I'm not screaming. I'm not defending and saying he shouldn't. I wouldn't be mad if they did, but I have not screamed because responding to the chat. I have not screamed for the firing of Aaron Glenn. I have not. I have not been one of the people screaming for him to be fired.
No, I don't think it. Have we ever said that once on Reality Check here? I don't think so.
I've never screamed that he should be fired. Never. I never have. I've questioned some of the things he's done. I have no answer to why. If someone said, why is he good? Why would you want him? I don't have an answer for it. It's very hard to defend him. I don't try to defend him, but I also have not been screaming to fire him. I just haven't.
No,
maybe. Yeah. I'm saying maybe if there was a better option out there or someone wanted to come here or, we were in line to get a very good quarterback, so we could have attracted a John Harbaugh or whatever it is, maybe I would have said that's a scenario I would have liked to see, but I'm just saying I have not screamed to fire him. I just haven't. Like you can't find you can't find me in all the shows I do. You will not find anywhere where I'm saying they need to fire Aaron Glenn. or that I'm rooting against them. I'm anticipating and predicting and expecting, just based on what I'm seeing, that he's probably going to be fired. And I would love for that expectation to be wrong and for the Jets to be 9-8 next year. I would love that to happen. And I would be the biggest fan, and I would say, oh my God, he turned it around. It's the first time I've ever seen this in sports, but great. I'm so glad that he turned it around.
Yep. I don't think you'll find a show that is more fair to Aaron Glenn than this show. And on this channel, there's a couple of more, I have a few examples. You can go back and watch the video I did after the Bengals game and talked about why Aaron Glenn was the reason why they won that game. And you could go back and look at the video I did after the Falcons game where I talked about why I was happy that I was seeing the team improve and that they weren't just going full in the tank. So those are two examples right there that you could check out as well. Yeah. Aaron Glenn is a terrorist. That's dramatic. But says, hey, boys, are we cooked? Feels cooked right now. I hope that we are. I hope that we are wrong and that he comes out and has a really good season. And their plan with bringing in Frank Reich works, develops a quarterback, and on the defensive side of the ball, Aaron Glenn gets that defense humming. That's the hope. I don't feel great about that right now at this moment, though.
Yeah, and also there is victory without playoffs, right? And that for me, not great, but I'm still upset that it's another year without the playoffs. But victory to me is the young guys that we draft look amazing. It looks like we got stars. I'm not talking about just good players. I'm talking about let's say we take Bane, that he looks like the next freaking Reggie White. Right? That we have a guy that's going to freaking oh my God, this guy's a beast. He's going to be a 15 to 20 sack guy. And then we take whoever we get at 16. And then, if we just get great players, and so now we win more games because these young players are freaking stars. We get such a great contribution from them. And we have a lot to be happy and excited about. That would be a winning thing for me. I just don't want to feel like shit. I don't want to feel like a year, during next season that nothing's gotten better, that it's just still embarrassing and they look horrible. But to me, a victory could be that we just look better. And those young guys look really, really good. Not just the draft picks, but guys like Mason Taylor, AZ Thomas, seeing them rise, start to really take big steps forward. So we could start to at least say, oh, look, we could start naming multiple players that we're excited about on our roster.
Yep. We got a couple more super chats here before we close the show for today. Thank you guys for hanging. Douglas says, Glenn has single-handedly taken the Jets from being the worst team in the NFL to being the laughingstock of all professional sports teams worldwide. Were they not that when he got here, though? I mean, they had the longest active playoff drought in all of sports when he got here. So I don't think he obviously hasn't elevated them out of that, but I don't think it's gotten progressively worse, right? It's the same. Would you agree?
I just feel like, my experiences here, people see me wearing Jet stuff and I get a lot of I'm sorry's.
Yeah.
That's what I'm tired of. I'm tired of, I walk out, if I'm wearing any Jet stuff, it's like, man, that must be rough. That's the perception of us. People feel sorry for us. The way we look at Cleveland fans, that's how people look at us.
It's a sad place to be. Dante says the negativity around AG and the Jets is well deserved, but there's one person who leading the charge and going overboard and goes after fans that support him. We can only speak to what we do here. I think we are both obviously very down on this team right now, and it is deserved. Unfortunately, they haven't shown enough to instill confidence in either Jeremy or I. And as we said a few times throughout this show, I think that we do a pretty good job of just being honest and truthful about how we feel about the circumstances. If something good happens, we will explain why we think it's good and give you the context around it. If something is bad, we'll give the context around it and why we think it's bad. And that's kind of the premise of this show. Being called reality check.
I mean, we're all planning this draft party. We all want to be part of something exciting. We want this to turn around. We want to see the Jets draft great players. We want good things to happen. We want to, like, whoever, like it's not like we're sitting here saying this sucks and we're going to be down about every move they make. Not at all. I'm excited about the draft. I'm excited about this. Has just been a particularly tough week, but like moving forward, you're going to see us being very excited about the draft, very excited about like the different types. Maybe they're going to get Lindenbaum. Like, I don't know. Like, we're going to be excited about things as they rebuild, I'm sure, because
Sure.
we always are. If we can't be happy or start finding positivities in the offseason, then we're screwed, because it seems like for the last 15 years, our best moments have been during the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing the draft party. You can check it out on talkingjets.com. Myself, Ryan, Green Bean will do it. We're doing the live broadcast through there. It's the biggest thing we do every year, right? The draft streams always do well. People are excited about it, and we'll be excited about it at that point in time too. So we'll get there. We'll turn around. It's been a tough week in Jets land, and I don't blame the negativity coming out right now. I think that's a valid response to what has gone on this week.
Right. I used to attack people who were negative. I would annoy the hell out of me, especially when we got Rodgers and like things looked like it was turning up. I would get so annoyed at people. You have no faith and everything. I'm not. I'm not telling people be negative, be hateful, and shitting on anybody who's trying to be positive. But I also could no longer be annoyed at the people who are negative. I have nothing. I have no argument to negativity right now. I can't tell them. I can't. Like, there's nothing I could say to like scrutinize them for being negative, because the team hasn't given us much to be positive about. So, you know what? 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. I mean, I'll throw that out there. Positive.
That's another one. Douglas at the buzzer. As a Jets fan, all we have is the draft, unfortunately, until we have a legit head coach and GM combo. That's all we will ever have. You know what? We're going to have a blast at the Jets draft party, the Talking Jets draft party. So make sure to come out to that. Get your tickets, talkingjets.com. I'll be there. Ryan, Green Bean, we're broadcasting live, the whole thing. It's going to be a blast. Jeremy, I appreciate you joining me for another week of this show. As always, my friend.
I'm talking in slow motion as the stream comes to an end.